Welcome to MaxsGarajMahal. Today we're going to talk about tachometers. Oh, and hour gauges. Maybe even a combination hour gauge and tachometer. By golly, I believe that's what this is right here. Let's take a look. Yes, that's what that is a tachometer meter. This thing is multifunctional, which is a great thing because it is a second hour meter on the machine. And I'll explain that shortly. I'm going to give you some idea of what all this thing does. It is again, it's an hour gauge. And this particular hour gauge is going to be used strictly for the engine operation time. It's not going to be a total time. It's going to be engine run only. And that's the only time that this hour gauge operates is while the engine is under load and firing. So, and it's because it's an induction type installation. It means the wire doesn't go to a hot wire, it goes around a plug wire. So you have to install this in such a manner that your lead off the tach, which is over here, and I'll show you where we mounted it. We mounted it right in front of the dashboard. Pretty neat, huh? Let's see if I can get you a better look at it. Get right down here on it. And again, it's a tachometer. It does total time, which is not what we've got this one on here for. Total time will remain the job of the tachometer or the hour meter that comes on the machine. So that is not the reason why this one's on here. It is mainly, well, I purchased it originally to install it to do the hour, and I also wanted a tach, and I thought there's no reason to have one of each. That would give you two installations for hour meter and a tach, so that's a little bit overboard and it's not really necessary. This thing also does, come back around here for a moment, let's see if I can get you where you can read this stuff. It does have a backlight display, which is pretty neat. It gives you the maximum RPM so that you can see what the motor ran at the wide open throttle. And if it were to run away with itself, say something happened to the governor arm, spring came off, or the screw that tightens the arm on the shaft going through the engine, if for some reason this thing, say, runs 6,000 RPM, drop the valve, you'd know why, because you'd be able to see your RPM, recall the RPM. We use those on race cars all the time, and it is just to let us know what the highest RPM that was reached. This one will give you a constant RPM reading, of course, and this is really what you want. We'll be using it for tuning, such as making sure that the RPM on the engine is where it belongs, so that when you're mowing, the blade tip speed is running at the correct RPM as well. We will be using this thing also in the world land speed record attempt for the Hustler Raptor SD. This thing is waterproof, and of course it's also good for keeping up with maintenance on the engine, since you'll know just how long the engine itself has run. So that's the reason why we shot this video today, is let you know what we're up to. And I'll show you. Let me put the seat forward here. Be careful and don't slam that thing forward, even though it's got a limiter on it. You don't want to break, it's so cold out here, we don't want to break these plastic ends right here, which could be done in this type of weather. So the way I installed this, these engine covers on this particular engine has got, let's see, it's got two screws right here on the fuel pump. Remove those, let that hang loose. You've got a bolt here, you back that one off. This one has to come out because it holds this fuel bracket right here, fuel hose bracket. This one has to come out because you can't slide the engine. By golly, you can too. You can just loosen this one too. You don't have to take it off. Let's see. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts that you've got to back off. And then your engine cover will come off after you've removed this cover and you've removed the inner screen that holds, or that keeps trash from getting down inside the engine cover. You also have to remove the breather hose here for this to come up. So once you loosen this clamp, pull this up, your breather and the breather tube's out of the way. You remove the engine cover, and the way I install this, now this is not in the wire loom as of yet. I do have it wire tied down for safety until I can get this done. This will be in a wire loom. It comes through here with a Y-type clamp that this wire loom will just push in, and if I want the fender off, I can just pull it out of the wire loom. This is going to come around the back of the fender, over to the side, then it enters the engine through a drain port right here in the aluminum block, goes over here and goes down and around, back up over to the spark plug wire right here, and inside the engine cover it goes around the engine or the spark plug wire, I think 10 or 12 times, and it's secured with 3 little wire ties, small wire ties. That's the way it's installed. That's the way I like to install them. The wire then is safe and it's out of the way. You don't have to worry about it being in the way while you're trying to maintain, let's say, oil changes and filter changes such as that. So that's the reason why I do these sort of things, is to give it a more finished look. It'll also make it to where this fender can be removed. I always like to make sure the fenders are removable so that you can service any part of the wiring loom or something like that, or for whatever reason you need to get under these fenders. Then if they're removable and nothing is in your way, you can pop them off, clean under it, service whatever you need to service, replace the fender. You got, now that I've added the lift strut limiter, seat limiter, the additional 2 screws is all it takes to pop the fender off on this side. Haven't installed one on the right side yet. I am considering that. You may see a dual seat limiter on this thing in the very near future. If so, then I will bring you up to speed on that. And the reason why I may do that is twofold. It will give you another seat limiter, seat lift. It'll also, that will help you raise the seat, which is really not necessary. But it will also give you 2 more mounting points for the fender to take some pressure off of the mounting points. So that's the reason why I may do that. Oh, and as promised, I told you I'd bring you back to show you the tachometer working. So, excuse me, been down under the weather for about almost 2 weeks, so apologize if I cough on you quite a bit. So here is the Tach, if you remember, and right now it's showing 0 RPM. So let's get around here. First of all, let's see if that thing will start up right here without having to get on top of it. Get my hand out of the way. These collies got to be choked. Oh, might have choked that in too long. There you go. What do y'all think of that? Little inductive Tach. And I found out something about that sucker is when I put it on there, fired it right up. As I told you before, we ran the inductive wire through here, up inside the engine housing, through here, dropped in and out a couple of times to make sure it stayed away from the flywheel. Brought it over here, and inside the engine housing we did about 10 wraps of the wire around the spark plug wire. After the engine warmed up, engine would no longer fire. I mean, wouldn't even fire. So, just got through disassembling all this, taking the engine cover off, and you know, take the engine cover off, you've got to remove these 3 pop ends, pull this out of the way. You've got to remove these 3 bolts right here, take that plastic, or this metal housing. It's really like a vent to keep the grass and stuff out of your heads. And then you remove or loosen all these bolts here. You got to remove the breather, and then this thing will pop off. Well, you got to also take the 2 screws out of your fuel pump. Then this cover will pop off. So I removed the inductive wire from the spark plug and I brought it to the outside. So it fired right up, but the engine isn't warm. So we will go ahead and do a test on that. If we find that this thing will not run and refire with the engine hot, we're going to let you know about that too. But at this time, the engine's still warm, it's just not hot. But the wire is not the least bit warm either. So I think that's going to make a bit of difference, maybe not. So we'll get back to you on that in maybe one of the next movies. So we thought we'd let you know that the little Tach does work. And the little engine was only turning, I think, 3420 wide open. So we did some adjustments. And this blue tape here that you see, this was so that I put all the cables back exactly where they were when I was doing the dash. So that's the reason why you see that, and that's about to go away here in a moment after I turn this off. And I want to thank you for coming by, visiting with old Max here at MaxsGarajMahal. We appreciate it. Hope you will give us a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notifications bell down there on the right hand side of the subscribe button. And y'all come back and see me now, you hear?